the ostensible purpose of our talk is to
Yeah,
chat about Ananda music.
yeah.
And there are two old cassette tapes that we listen to all the time,
Uh,
and one of them is
uh,
River of Joy.
oh
So,
my.
and then maybe you could tell
Okay.
me about just your own musical background and interest and such.
Yeah. Well, my musical, I like to say, bumpy starts and auspicious end. I had to play piano for 2 years when I was a kid, and then we're half a block from the ocean, Manhattan Beach, and I was dying. And so my mother was going to be a concert pianist. And so there was that background. And my brother had taken piano for 10 years and on and on. And so what I would do is I would memorize, Furelise and all this stuff. I would memorize the piece. And then when dear old Mr. Fleischer came, I think I drove him to early retirement. I would be turning the page pretending I was reading the music. But it was faster for me because I'd always say, "Will you play it for me?" After we were nearly done with the practice, would he play it for me? Well, then I would just kind of roll the tape, and
Huh.
then do my best to play it back. So he was constantly wondering why I would turn the page a frame earlier, and continue playing and so forth. I thought, oh, when is he going to leave so I can go surfing? That was it,
Uh-huh.
So that was that. But as it worked out, when I got to Ananda, there was a harmonium. So I thought, oh boy, that's neat. And so, that I started, chanting. And in the early years as a monk, I chanted, just all the time
Yeah.
and made up chants and all those kinds of things. And then when we got to Sacramento in 78 with Vijay, we needed to support ourselves. And so he started this piano business. We would go out, he would, and find a used piano that had potential, and so he'd drag it back to the center. He'd strip it down, and I would do the cabinet because I was an old cabinet maker. And so I knew a little about that. And then he would do, the real work.
Huh.
So his work was, way more extensive than mine. And then we would then sell it. And so there's the piano. So, this time I wasn't, there was no Mr. Fleischer and no distraction of the ocean. So I started just, doing these chants. And so Vijay, who was, of course, a recording guy, finally, after I had been doing, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months, something like that, he said, something, why don't we record? And I said, no way. And so, for a period of time, God knows when, I was just bucking, there's no way, I'm just having fun with this and I don't feel like, doing the recording. And we had done a couple albums with Swami back in the early 70s, but that was the whole group, everybody was there. And so
Uh-huh.
I didn't have to feel like I was, center stage. So anyway, Vijay's a persuasive fellow. And so I said, okay, I'll tell you what, um, I'll play, and I'm only going to play it through once, and you pray. And that was then the River of Joy. So that was that. And then at different times, Agni and I, when we were building the seclusion retreat, we couldn't fundraise then. It was the
Yep.
lawsuit. And yet we had to do the building and they were going to shut the place down. And so it was all on faith and this and that. So we could do a little something. So I cleared Swami's house of trees because that was a fire hazard. So we used the wood for the building, things, anything we could think of to move the project along over 5 years with the county breathing down our neck because it was supposed to be a 2-year project.
Huh.
And so there was all the miracles that happened and it was really sweet. So anyway, at one point we did, I think it was Agni, Ram, and Lewis. We
Yes.
did a What Lightning Flash, CD or something. The fun for me was the era with Lewis and the tabla. And what would happen, this was at the EL when we were doing pretty much weekly kirtans
Mhm.
there. And the seclusion retreat the same before we moved down to the expanding light. And what it would happen to me with the tablas is I would lose myself in the tabla and
Hmm.
I hardly would be playing.
Hmm.
So that I had never had that experience before
Huh.
because I had always pretty much, played alone or something. But something happened with Lewis playing the tabla. I just loved it. I miss it to this day. As a matter of fact, I feel half the time when I'm playing that I'm just, where's the tabla? It's almost
Huh.
like, where's the tabla? And here we are in India, no tabla player is, has surfaced yet. 8 years ago when we came to Bangalore, our job was, as we felt, was just training the teachers, and going at their own pace, training people about community. all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And that keeps us busy because we're, next month I'm 70. And so I was a baby. I was the baby when I arrived at Ananda way back when. And no, that's no longer, of course. And so these guys, tick, tick, tick. Are we here another day, another 5 years, another 10 years? I mean, at one point, I was teasing somebody or other that we've always had fun with this month is all of the Virgos or the Libras or God knows what. Well, this month we're going to be burying 20 people or something, when we start, going off like dominoes, But where our hearts are at is always, as we've always tried to do, and this, of course, is Ananda, is to leave it better. If someone else comes along and it's their time to grow in your position, why would we hold back? Give it to them, like Master's giving away the motorcycle. It's just this is yours, not ours. This is where we are at the
Yeah.
moment. When I first got to Ananda, because I got on the path at 17 and I was suffering from lack of peace, just lack of peace.
Okay. Okay.
And there was no reason for it because I was raised in a wonderful situation, and Ananda, coming there as a teenager and all that with Swami. But I was not, I couldn't figure out how to integrate the soul and the ego. It was just all I was doing was being stuck in a vice for a decade, just being crushed. And it was a journey of beginning to just, become balanced and integrated within myself so that I could love myself, thereby loving myself and others, and relax.
Yeah.
That was it. It was just relax, because I was meditating to beat the band, and all these things, and meditated too much at times and had to recover, and all the
Yeah.
things that you go through. And chanting, of course, saved me. It was very, very helpful at the time. But then when I finally got to the point where I was at peace, then I thought, something, thank God I didn't flee the scene. I remember years ago at Ananda Village, I gave a Sunday satsang, and I stood up and I said, sometimes I want to say to the new people coming in, run for your lives. And I said, it's just a joke. But in a way, how many incarnations have we run for our lives? Because we're
Yeah.
just not ready to make the commitment. For me, it was just keep your heart open and your mind positive.
Hmm.
That's all. And of course, hold on to the Guru's feet and get to every Swami satsang and everything you possibly can get to, fly across, the country and all of that too, of course. In the end, as Master said, we're going to be completely satisfied with absolutely all the black hats we wore, all the white hats we wore, because it all adds up to zero, of course. And we're just going to say, fine, it's been a good show. And
Uh-huh.
so I have that in my mind quite a lot, that I don't really have to get, too either down on myself or God knows what, because at the end, it's guaranteed that every single one of us will say it was worthwhile.
Well, thank you,
So
Haridas. Gee, it's been a delight talking with you.